It started. Hey everybody, welcome to what I'm calling the Nerdcast, because we're nerds.
Whoa!
That's the point. You guys are all nerds. It's just going to be a podcast where we talk about things that are nerdy, in a sense. And we make jokes, too, sometimes, that we think are pretty funny.
That we think are funny.
Yeah, we think they're really
make
funny.
no guarantees about
other people probably
else.
think they're funny, too. Yes, this is the very first episode. We'll start by just introducing ourselves. My name is Beta. I have other names, but no one calls me that. I had the idea for this channel called Nerds Alive, which is where you're probably watching this, and because we play D&D and we play board games and like Uno, and we we do a lot of nerdy things, and that'd be cool if we could share that with you guys, because I like making sketches and stuff like that, but they're all really nerdy, so I figured I'd cultivate all that together. I'm the mastermind.
In one place, yeah.
I'm Jesse. I also have other names. Only he refers to me as.
You have other names?
That's like
There's
bitch
plenty.
phase.
There's plenty. Yeah. I don't know what to really say.
No, that was it. My intro
here. Yeah, your intro.
my intro could be the
took a
biggest.
Longer
That's okay.
yeah, he thinks he's super
I'm
important
cool.
to what goes on here.
Yeah, he took it away.
I did. I take the thunder. Yeah, you're next.
Yep. So that's the thing. I have different names. I have the name that I call myself, and then we have the name that
I mean, whatever name you want to call yourself is what we'll call you when we're on the interwebs.
I really don't care. I'm Megan.
Hi, Megan.
But they call me Kraus, and they're never gonna be able to
You're an alcoholic.
just call me Megan.
See, I've been trying to adjust to it.
It's fine. I
But
don't mind.
This is how he introduced you.
Yeah, no, I like a lot of people know me.
I've called her Megan twice in
yeah,
my
in your
life,
life.
or something like that. So
probably just end up going by Kraus on here.
it's probably because you got introduced to me as Kraus.
I remember when that happened.
Oh no, you want to know why? Because there were like 4 Megans in our high school.
It was because of how I introduced myself to someone.
Did you say
It was when we were playing. We used to play Ultimate Frisbee.
Yeah.
Right back with all the theater kids in high school.
Yep.
And I don't remember her name, which is probably good because I wouldn't say it even if I did.
Yeah.
But someone who sort of took control over a lot of the Ultimate Frisbee stuff.
Yeah.
The first day I'd ever gone there, I introduced myself. She was like, "Oh, who are you?" And I was like, "Megan." And then I paused and I said Kraus because I knew there were other Megans.
Right.
So I was like, "Oh, I'll say my full name." So I was like, Megan
Kraus.
And she very sarcastically was like, "Oh, Kraus? Okay." And then everyone else started calling me Kraus. And so when I ended up joining, because I wasn't in theater at that point.
No, you weren't, because I didn't meet you until you joined.
That was the summer
theater.
Between my sophomore and junior year.
Yeah.
So then when I joined into theater, everyone already knew me as Kraus.
I think I knew you as Megan, because the first time I met you, you were like, you weren't in drama, but you were hanging out after school with some people that were in drama, and they were just like, "This is Megan." I go, "Sup," and then that was it. And then the next year you joined drama club.
Yep.
So that was it.
Yeah.
It's a cool story, bro.
Super cool. I am not involved in the planning of this whatsoever.
I mean, she's an important part of it, but she's our recurring guest, because she won't be here every time, because she has other things to do.
Yep.
Like a life. So.
Let's not stretch that too much.
Huh?
Let's not stretch that too much.
All right. She has not really a life.
I play a lot of D&D.
It's like if her life is like a 4 out of 10, mine and Jesse's lives are like a 1 out of 10. Or like we're probably a negative for our lives. So
That's upsetting when you put it into that perspective.
we don't have a life.
Some people would consider this.
She has like a no life. Like all of her things of her life are no lifing the life part of
Yes,
it.
yes. A lot of my life, the life that I have that I don't have, is D&D, more D&D, painting miniatures for D&D.
Yeah, her
planning
is
D&D?
kind of like a no life.
Now playing Vampire the Masquerade.
But I think playing
let's call
D&D
that.
counts as having a life. All right, hold on. So
It's part of
the idea for this podcast was, instead of getting all dressed up and looking really nice, we decided to wear pajamas. Somebody decided to dress like a model, but everybody else wore pajamas. And we're going to
I guess.
eat cereal because it's kind of early in the morning. It was when we started this. It's not
we
anymore.
all like left our houses.
I just really wanted cereal, and I thought this was a great excuse to do that. So, let's do it.
Can I
Let's
eat my
get our
food
cereal.
now?
Yeah, we can eat cereal now. Let's do
He
it.
made us wait.
Yeah, I did. So I wanted to ruin the audio for this podcast.
Yeah, I was gonna
I
ask.
thought about that.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, and I was gonna be like, "Hey, isn't that gonna really suck?"
I was
But
like, between all the
because-
crunching and like,
That's my cereal.
Well, since I've just been sitting here like disagreeing with everything, I was like, "Nah, I'll just let this one go."
You've been disagreeing with everything?
Yep.
Like what?
All of your ideas.
That's true. But that's how our ideas would get really good. It's like I like when people disagree because then I could either call them wrong.
Oh,
which is
you like
fun.
when people disagree?
Yeah, they
Noted.
hello. You
you on
already
the
knew
debate
that
team?
though, huh?
weren't you on a debate team?
No, my dad always said I should be on the debate team because I just like to argue.
Not wrong.
I know I do like to argue, but I like to argue because I'm right.
Look at this. This is like literally.
It's like 5 pieces.
Yeah, it takes up the whole fucking bowl. I'm just gonna.
Or you could just not block your whole.
Yeah, I know.
Taking so long.
Yeah, only I
Shake
get to
my
have
head.
that there because I'm special.
Well,
Are you?
you go.
It's alright. It's further away from you now, so that's all I care about.
So Beta,
Yeah. Gross.
what are we talking about? Now that we have all of our cereal poured, shit. I poured too much milk in. It's okay.
Then
Well, you were actually saying that all you do is play D&D,
Mhm.
which to me, I think
this chair's too big for me.
means you means you have a life. So, because it's like getting it's like
I mean, it's socialization. Like, I'll
well,
definitely
like so
give
if
it
I went
that.
out to it right, so like if every like Friday I go out to a club with my friend. Like, you ever watch like How I Met Your Mother or like a show?
Mhm.
You know, even just like Friends, they all just met in a coffee shop or they all met in like a bar or something like that. If I did that every Friday, is that any less of a life? Because they're just going out and meeting up together with their friends at a place, and if you play D&D, you're doing the same thing, just being a nerd about it. Or in Crass's case, she plays 7 D&D games. So some of them are in person, and some of them are
I don't play
over
7.
the internet. Like 6.5.
Sure, 6.5. I mean, I will say, in terms of, you know, playing D&D, having a life, whatever. For the game that I've been playing, because I've been playing a game since just after I want to age myself. I've been playing a game for about a year and a half. The same game with more or less the same people. Has changed a little bit. But they all live, I mean, we have people in Virginia, we have people out in Pennsylvania, South Carolina, sort of all over. And I mean, I definitely don't think I would have kept up with them to the extent that I have if it wasn't for that game. And one of them I never would have met if it wasn't for that game, because I
Did
did
you
not know them
start
before.
That game in person, though?
No, we started online.
Oh, okay.
Because we knew that we were never all going to be in the same place.
So
So,
you just
like,
did
we went in and we knew we were going to start it online. We had the most, I'm going to go, mix match, like, group. My brother plays with us. So now I'm in this friend group with my brother, which is a super strange experience. If anyone has had
But
that.
the people that you know from there, are they mostly people that you knew?
Yeah. So they've said this, I said this, that at least at the very beginning, I was sort of the connecting piece, because I knew our DM,
Mm-hmm.
and he, with the exception of me, he didn't know any of the other players except my brother. So it was like me and my brother that he knew. And then our other players, our DM had never met before. I went up to him one day and I was like, hey, I want to play D&D regularly. I don't want to DM. Can you do it for us? Can you DM this game? Don't worry, I'll get a party together. And in his typical fashion, he was like, yeah, sure, sounds great. So he really didn't know most of the party. You know, they didn't know him. So it was like, when we sat down for those first couple games and like sitting down, you know, texting, Facebook messaging,
Right.
whatever, setting up all of our characters, like it was a meeting experience for a lot of us.
Right, it was a lot of like getting to know
A lot
you
of that
while
was
you were
involved.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that makes I think it really does make you have a life out of that. Because D&D, when you go to sit down for D&D, while it's fun, it is like a thing. It's not like an empty activity. Like if I say, hey, let's go hang out at a bar and sit there and talk for 3 hours, that's way less like energy sucking than sitting down and playing like D&D, especially the way that you guys play D&D, because you are super in to the role playing and you take everything super seriously.
Yep.
That's not an insult. It's like
no.
I wasn't sure if he was like insulting me or you.
No, it's a cool thing to aspire to be, especially because you're all doing that for yourself. That's the way that you enjoy playing that game. So it's it's kind of just like if someone just randomly said, "Do you want to play right now?" and you retire, you'd probably just be like, "Well, this is not expected. Like maybe not right now. Like let me go like prepare myself."
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like if someone said, "Do you want to go get a cup of coffee right now?" You just be like, even if you're tired, you're like, "Yeah." I guess coffee's a bad example. Like you're like, I'm tired. Let's go do it.
Yeah,
but
sure, let's do some coffee. No,
yeah.
I definitely, I agree. I think it's very different from just saying, oh, I'm gonna play a video game on my own.
Right.
Because I even think anyone who plays video games with other people, that's socialization. That's
me just yell at the
even if you're just yelling, even if you're just yelling at each other.
Don't you do that? You yell at the game too. I don't want to hear this.
Very little extent.
No, that is not true. I do yell way more than you. I will admit that. But you don't yell a little bit. You yell a lot. I just yell way more than you do. But it's still a lot. Like you can't say that. Like yelling a little would be like every like third game something happens. You go, God, it's like the 5th time that's happened, and then that's it. Every single game, you would yell at least twice. I would yell 7 times, but that's not the point.
Yeah. I'm talking about you yelling.
Yeah, Jesse yells all the time.
Mm-mm.
But me and Jesse, you do. All right, but me and Jesse also like playing a lot of co-op games.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is a way more sociable. Like I think that whole industry for games shifted over to
the multiplayer.
To the competitive multiplayer side of it, because that is what gets a lot of people in there, because that feeling is way better than like, we just killed a mini boss, and it's like,
see, that's the thing though, I feel like that really differs from person to person.
No, like, I completely agree with that. That is true.
As much as I love online multiplayer games, I actually went on like a really long hiatus from them for a while. And like I was sticking to single player games like Fallout, Mass Effect. I think I played through Mass Effect like maybe 2 times. Like the entire trilogy before I ended up touching a multiplayer game again.
Right.
And like there's so many games I wish had like a co-op experience.
Yeah.
And now you see more games like starting to reintroduce them, but so many games took away from them. I mean, that's a good example. It's just if there's like actually the base.
I think there's always people. Yeah, I think there's always people like you out there, because I'm in both there. Right. I really enjoy the ranking up and the level, but I don't enjoy like the super competitive aspect of it. Like I enjoy the unlocking stuff and progression and stuff like that, which you get in single player games as well. So to me, like going into Diablo and ranking up and leveling up and stuff like that, or Fallout and ranking up and building out your perk tree, and Call of Duty with unlocking camos and unlocking guns and stuff like that progression to me all blends together. Just the objective of the game is different. In Call of Duty, it's get kills, play the objective, and do your challenges to rank up. In Fallout, it's, do quests, enjoy the story and everything like that. And I do enjoy the story too, but I like the grind of it a lot more. And I think a lot of people, because I think that sets off, in your brain, just like you're chasing that high every time. Like the first time you get like a quad in a video game, like getting a 4 kill, or like in League getting like a pentakill, or like things like that. You might get one of those once, but you're chasing that the rest of the time, and that you live off that high for such a long time that it sucks you in. Like you want to go back the next day, and the next day, and the next day.
That's the thing.
Until you get worn down.
Is like, I was really into Counter-Strike at one point, and I guess before they like started resetting a lot of the ranks and like adjusting the skill gap, I think around Master Guardian. And I would play this game like hours a day. I think I'm sitting just below 1,000 hours currently on my Steam account. which it's not a lot, but it is a lot, I guess, to like the outside person. But it's always like you said though, getting like the 4K or the Ace, or things like that. And it's like always seeing yourself at like the top of the leaderboard. It's very like satisfying.
Right. But I think that's why I don't play competitive games, because I don't think that is the feeling that I chase. The chase for me is the challenges and the progression, stuff like that. Like like in Call of Duty prestiging, when you get to the max rank, you prestige, and a lot of other games have it too. But that feeling is way better. Like being able to hit that prestige reset. I'm mad immediately after that, but like I enjoy that grind of it. Like I hate playing that game. If I'm max rank, like I don't like playing the game anymore, because it's like, oh, I beat it in a sense. Like that's what.
No, so that's like the one thing
I have.
I didn't really like too much about Battlefield. I think 3 is when they started introducing like the actual levels.
Yeah, I like 3. Like 3 was a game I played a lot because they had that unlock.
Right, so they had the
Bad
unlock.
Company 2 had it too.
They did, yeah.
I know what you're talking about though. You mean
but
like the
3
actual
had
level,
like
progressions.
I think Battlefield 3 had up till 45, and after 45 there's just like ranks with like emptiness, and like it just had nothing to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I really don't want to play anymore.
Yeah.
So I think when I re-got it on PC, like during a Humble Bundle sale, it was fun unlocking everything all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was fun. Yeah, I definitely do like. I like that they're going back to single player and making that a focus. I think you can have like a really large world like GTA Online and Fallout 76 and things like that, where it's not inherently co-op, but they add the co-op features on top of having the other features in there. Like Fallout 76 is going to be PvE and PvP all in the same world, along with co-op, because you can have a party, I think, up to 5 or 4 or higher, I forget, something like that. But it's cool. I think that's a really cool dynamic, which it's definitely, in my opinion though, not like a Fallout game, because it's missing a lot of the elements that make it a Fallout game. Like it's the guns and the character and stuff like that, but it's not. It's just not like a Fallout game.
The overall environment.
Weird. Yeah.
Right. So there's this game. I think it was like called Fallen Earth or something like that.
Fallen Earth.
I think so. So it was like a post-apocalyptic MMORPG, and it was like, you look at it as like a lot of the enemies or like, you know, things you'd like see in Fallout, but it was just like it had the quest tracking, all that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it also felt like there wasn't really much to it. Well, that and like a lot of mechanics are very clunky. That's the one thing I do like about this. I want to say maybe comparing it to like the Elder Scrolls Online, is like this is keeping true to its mechanics rather than like building a whole new game.
It's the same exact right. I also think
versus turning Fallout into a second,
Fallout
or third,
Online,
fourth World of Warcraft
but I
style.
Exactly.
I think the Elder Scrolls Online, it was a whole different studio that they were just like, build this. Like they didn't use like, because I have a feeling they can actually make Skyrim into what Fallout 76 was, because it's but.
I'll say now with how they advanced with the engine and they implemented what they say was Doom's multiplayer networking.
Yeah, it was something
or something like that.
Yeah,
and they implemented that into the creation engine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they could do that with a future title of either Elder Scrolls or Fallout again.
I think they're gonna see how this is. But I really hope that they work it into making it a co-op game. I can see why they wouldn't go back and do that though. Like if you think about all of the stories that have been through, like let's even just say Fallout 3, since that's when Bethesda that was Bethesda's first Fallout game. The stories of the Elder Scrolls and Fallout were all single player oriented.
Right.
Like your character is trying to become the most overpowered and trying to do something. In this case, for Fallout, you were chasing your dad. It'd be kind of weird that it's like, your dad had twins. Get out there and find your dad. It'd be strange. You could work it in there, but it wouldn't feel as impactful as the story was there. And just like for Fallout New Vegas, it was like, you both got shot in the head. And it was like, okay, well, this is like, and we both survived? Come on. That's like, just the way it would have to work it in there. And it's like, you're both Dragonborn. Like, it'd be, I'm trying to think of a game that had that scenario. I think it was Fable. When you played Fable and you played it co-op, there's always one person that was the hero, and the other person was not. It was just like, you're my sidekick, bitch, and it was like, all right, that's how we're gonna play co-op. But the thing that sucked about that was, it didn't feel as fun because there wasn't that choice. It wasn't just like you can choose if you're a hero or a sidekick, and if you get that choice, like, cause I probably would have chose to play that. That'd be cool because just to see, but it's just also really restricting. It'd be kind of weird if it's like, you're the Dragonborn. It's like, haha, this game I get to be the Dragonborn, and you have to sit and just be like a guard.
So like,
follow me around.
Well, I think in terms of, turning a game like that, like Fallout, like those, first person,
Yeah, like they're like RPGs.
Thank you. I was just blanking it. The first person like RPGs,
action games.
Yeah, I mean it has to be like, you can't use the same style and make it co-op, and I think make it universally work.
Yeah, without changing the story.
Right. Without changing the story, because it's when you're playing an RPG, I think by and large you're playing a story. It's like you're reading a book or you're watching a movie, right? And how often is there a book where there's two chosen people, right?
Right.
Like, Harry Potter has the scar, and Katniss Everdeen did the thing.
Right. It's like Katniss and Batniss, the two chosen ones.
It's always the one person, because the story's about that person and their struggles and their challenges, and I also think that when you take a game like that and you make it co-op, everything feels easier because you have someone else to rely on. And I think for Fallout 76, from what I've gathered, I know next to nothing except what I've read on the internet.
Everything's true on the internet. So.
Well, you can work with people.
Yeah.
But I know their goal was to make it very desolate and make you feel very alone.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of games, I mean, like horror games, that's what they do. They make you feel like you're alone and you're afraid, and you have no one to help you. Once you have people to help you, the thing gets a lot less scary. And so the stakes kind of go from up here to down here. So when you enter into something like, World of Warcraft, where you have all of these people, who can possibly who could possibly help you, I at least feel like you're not scared, worried, stressed going into certain dungeons or certain fights. You might be stressed because
until you get to like those really big, like, where it's all chance and everything, right? When you just
but I
play
think
it through
you lose that like personal inner like intensity and worry. Like if I'm playing Fallout on my own and I'm just sitting there and I'll spook myself. I'll turn around, there'll be a ghoul behind me, and I will jump.
Right.
Because I'm alone, that's the experience. So I think that changes a lot when you get into adding more people, and you gain, obviously, working with other people.
There were some good games that kept that same aspect. Like, for example, I want to say Dead Space 3. Never played it. Okay, so the first two games were, solo horror, and then by the time the third one came around, it was implemented co-op into it, and it still kind of retained the horror aspect. But you were right, though, with someone else there, the horror is kind of
right. I think you can get a lot more objective.
There's still jump
scares. Did you play Left 4 Dead co-op?
Yeah,
that I remember that.
Playing by yourself with just the other bots, though, was way scarier than just playing with a team of people. Because like you're going to get hit by a smoker, and it's just like, if you're with a team, it's just like, oh, someone killed a smoker. But if you're by yourself, you're like, they're not gonna get to me. They're not gonna get to me. I'm gonna die. And that's just it. And I think what Fallout 76 tried to do, which was really cool, was I think the servers are small. Like I think they're only 20,
so like instances,
25 people. I don't know if anyone was clear about that, or I couldn't find anything yet about it. But I think when you enter a building, the building has its own instance. Because technically in Fallout, the buildings are dungeons. Like that's the way
they have their own loading cells.
Right. The entire world, though, is you and the 25 people. And Fallout has a lot of buildings that you can just walk into and not actually enter it. So the ones that you can enter into are like the dungeons. But if you think about it, right, if you're in a party of 4 and you're in that world, you really only have 6 other groups of people, and this map is so large that when you run into them, it's like, oh shit. And if they start shooting at you and you start shooting back, it's just like, it's scary. It really is like coming across a group of raiders, but I think in a much more realistic sense. Because if you're in the post-apocalyptic world, you're not going to be running across groups of raiders every 5 feet like you do in all the other Fallout games. And they're also going to not just be like, who is this guy? And just start shooting him. It's like, shit, that guy killed like 600 raiders in the past like 2 months.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to die.
Oh, we know that guy. Let's just walk away.
Right. So I think that'd be a lot cooler. And I've seen both sides of this new combat system to try to stop griefing, where like it's only if you fire back. But I think your instinct is to just fire back anyway. So I think that's a really cool dynamic for it.
There's a lot of games like survival aspect like that I didn't like H1Z1 or DayZ.
Oh, you're saying without like a griefing protection in it.
So like it was always a shoot on sight. And it was kind of like almost rare to like find a PvE server in H1Z1 because like those are always so low population. Right. So I like those games always were the PvP aspect. But even if it's like, you're just spawn, and with DayZ, it was always your spawn on the railroads, and you have to run 15 minutes into town just to get shot on sight.
My stomach just came in for that.
So it's like, things like that,
I think they had a really smart, like, I think that system seems to be implemented really, really well. Because I've seen someone just sitting there, like, hitting somebody, and the person was, like, either AFK or something like that, and the person they were hitting eventually did die, but they didn't drop their because when you die you lose all your junk. They didn't drop their junk. I have a feeling that person lost their junk, but I think if they go back they could probably pick up their own junk. But the people that killed them didn't, because the person didn't fire back because they were AFK. And it took them like 10 minutes to do it.
Really?
With a melee weapon, because they didn't want to waste ammo. So they were just sitting there, and there were 2 of them just hitting this person, and it looked like it was not doing damage.
I am so sorry.
Guys, welcome back. Someone got a phone call from their boss.
Sorry.
It was... Don't apologize. Work is important. We don't get paid for any of this.
Work is super important.
We were expressly told that we weren't allowed to talk while the camera is off. So
we were almost silent. I talked about cereal because it wasn't important.
We officially have a taskmaster, a content taskmaster. He's like, Vito walks out of the room to go upstairs, and he's like, "Don't say anything."
I said, "Shut the fuck up."
So at some point we were talking.
I also asked him to figure out what we were talking about because we stopped for about 5 minutes and I forgot what we were talking.
Well, okay. So at one point we were talking. To loop back really far, we were talking about having social lives.
We were talking about
I feel like that's because we talked about.
We talked
about a little of it. We talked about like my D&D stuff, and we talked about you guys playing video games.
Yes, and we started talking about Fallout.
And then we just started talking about Fallout and how, MMOs versus single player RPGs, social life versus not social life, whatever, and it spiraled. But did we talk at all about the 3 of us and someone else who's not here?
Our D&D game?
Yeah, playing together. Our
We did not.
Social life.
All right, let's do it.
Usually every other Friday.
Usually once every some number of Fridays.
So we started playing D&D. Kraus introduced us to D&D. Or Kraus introduced me, and then I introduced them, and then Kraus has been running our game ever since. And I've always wanted to play D&D, but I didn't think I had any friends that did it. And in, the culture that we live in, it's inherently, like, nerdy, but I think we've passed over that a lot. Like, it's not
It's pop culture nerdism.
Yeah, it's not.
Which is great. Like, I will never say that as a negative. Like, I'm never going to say that to dump on anyone. Like, I am in love with how many people play. Fuck gatekeeping. I want everyone to play this game.
I think that's cool. And I actually, to be honest, I think a big reason that happened is that with, like, Snapchat and Instagram, like, all this stuff, you inherently, like, improv a lot when you make funny. They're like, oh, look at this, and it's a funny moment, and they go and they do that. So I think a lot of people feel a lot more comfortable doing that role playing aspect of it. Which to me, like, I grew up doing improv. I started doing improv in high school, and I fell in love with it, and just that part of it, the making up stuff and the role playing part of it, I really enjoyed. So I was super excited when Kraus was like, do you play D&D? And I was like, no. And they're like, do you want to play D&D? And I was like, yeah.
So with the 5th edition, you said that's probably the most popular one, right?
Yeah. From
Before
what I
that,
remember,
it was like 3, right?
it's 3.5. Well, 4. It was 3.5 and then 4, but before 5th edition was the most popular, I would say I think 3.5 was the most popular before that. I never played anything besides 5th edition.
Yeah.
That was how we started, because I want to say when I started playing, it had come out somewhat recently, and my DM at the time, that was like what he brought to us, so that was what we played. I had no idea. I was just like, oh, this is a really big book, and it has a number on it,
right?
And that's what we're gonna play.
Yeah.
Wizards has said that like 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons has been their most popular ever. Like, there are more people playing this game than there have ever been, and I mean, largely, I would say that's.
I think it's
you
also
can attribute a lot of it to streamers on Twitch.
Yeah, well, I think it's streamers. I think it's
some specifically, but there's a lot.
I think it's the fact that we've turned accessibility, but also the fact that like culture has turned that nerd culture is now pop culture. You know, like we have. You have things
superhero
that are
stuff,
right.
But
like
it used
you have
to just
Marvel.
be comic books. Now,
right, and
the whole Marvel universe is on the big
now.
screen,
The Marvel universe is the biggest cinematic universe ever, and they have some of the biggest movies ever. And I think that's a gateway into the people that read the comics. There's now a lot more people that read comics because of those movies. They go. Inherently, it's just like, I want to be a hipster, or I just want to get into this universe and know about it. And both those types of people have really expanded that. But then that leads into other things too. That leads into reading other comics and getting into more of that culture. So I think you have a lot of places to get that gateway, like Twitch. Like video games, I think are a huge gateway because there's a lot of video games that are built on the backbone of D&D's structure. Like a lot of RPGs and stuff like that are built off that structure of just rolling a die and figuring out the chances of stuff when that happens. And then also the role-playing element of that. Like, people are like, I really like that game. It's like, wow, what if I could be my own character that would actually say what I wanted? Right.
Yeah, instead of just pressing X or Y, like,
right.
You get your four dialogue options, like, or you can have infinite dialogue options.
And just like with the accessibility thing, like playing over Skype or Discord and websites like Roll20 and like D&D Beyond for creating campaigns and stuff like that, being able to control everything. It's just like it's.
I love D&D Beyond.
Right. I think there's so many tools out there that make it so more and more people can come in, and I feel like they're probably not even at that peak of reaching where it can be. So I think there's still a lot more people that'll be pulled in.
I also think what's it called, like actual play, like streams of people playing D&D.
Yeah.
I think what that does for a lot of people is makes like just a chance to see it, because otherwise, like, if you've never played D&D before, you maybe know someone who's played, but that's not something you necessarily want to be like, hey, I've never seen this game, can I sit and watch you and your 4 to 5 other friends play this game for 3 hours? Like, it's not an easy thing to just find in person and then see how it works and figure it out. But if you can go online and pull up any number of streams of someone playing this game, you can see it and figure it out and get comfortable with it and not have it intimidate you, because I think as a game it can be really intimidating to start off. Like, when someone rolls up with 5 massive books and puts them on the table, and
these are the rules.
And you have no idea what you actually need to know. Like, that's crazy intimidating. And you hear about people, Critical Role, great example. I love Critical Role. I really need to preface that. I love Critical Role. And Critical Role is absolutely something that made me more comfortable with the role-playing aspect of it. Because I could see other people doing it and have something, not necessarily to imitate, but to say, like, oh, they do it, and it doesn't make them nervous,
Right.
and
you see it
they're
on an
comfortable
external
with
level.
it.
Like, when you're doing it and you haven't seen it before, you're just kind of like, I probably look like an idiot.
Feel,
This is
yes,
like,
exactly.
just
You feel
really
very
dumb.
awkward. You feel stupid.
That was
doing
my
it.
number one concern. It was just like stepping outside of my comfort zone to kind of get into it. And I guess when we first started our campaign, it was like you being experienced and meeting your brother for the first time and him being very experienced. I felt like that really. Is he not?
Sorry, that's really funny.
Oh, I don't know.
No.
That's the impression I gave off. Like, I got.
No, he is experienced, but it's funny for me to think of it that way because he started playing probably like 2 years after I did, and in my mind a lot of times I still think of him as like,
Right,
oh,
so
you know,
he's newer and
he's
a beginner.
newer, but no, he's been playing with that game with me. He's been playing for well over a year now, a year and some number of months. So it's just
Oh well.
To me, he's always been like like my new brother. Not in a bad way, but I've always just been like, you know,
Well, I think
I feel like I brought him into this, like I got him in.
So
but no, he's definitely experienced, and I think that's great that your first experience with him was seeing him as a very experienced player, when my first experience playing with him was like, all right, you're playing a dumb barbarian and I need you to just be less dumb. Which, I mean, he exponentially grew. But I think that's super cool because he's been playing for a year and change. And
well, I mean, even if you really think about it, I think we've only played like 16 sessions or something like that with our campaign that we play Friday, usually.
Sometimes. On occasion.
On Friday. And we stream it sometimes.
On occasion.
Maybe. If me and Jesse went to a whole new game with like 3 new people and sat down and started playing, inherently they would think that we are experienced players. And yes and no, but I think we would just be more comfortable in the groove of things already. So even if your brother didn't have all the knowledge behind him, he still has that like baseline. I think just confidence behind it and experience,
and comfort level.
It's just like because just like you could sit down and when you get into your accent and you start role playing as your character, that's my dwarven
your
male barbarian.
your male dwarven voice,
but I think that already sets apart people that have never played before, and I think that's the biggest thing. I think the biggest thing that we saw that when we saw you was that you, because you were DMing, were already super comfortable with just doing all the different characters, and it's a way of storytelling using all the different characters, because you could just describe a scene, you could just tell me what a person says, but I think getting into the character and everything also brings I think the skill gap further apart, but I think it also pushes everybody else to meet you at that level. Because if you were just telling us that the bartender comes over and says you can buy 2 things, you could buy a scotch or a whiskey, and you were just like, I'll take a scotch whiskey, then like there's no acting in that. But if you come over and you're this really old barkeep and you just start talking to us like that, then it's kind of like, oh, if I just respond normally, this is going to seem weird, which is, it's not like you're the weird one, but it's like,
yes I am.
But it's good to be with a group that's all weird and being able to do those things. I think that's really the cool part of it.
There's a section actually in, I think it's the Dungeon Master's Guide, but it talks about, like, the books talk about encouraging role playing at the table, and I mean you basically just quoted a section that talks about, like, as the DM, if you put yourself out on the line that way and have a scene instead of describing, it encourages other people to reply in a similar manner.
There was a cool video that I watched just to get some of the basics before we even did like our one shot, because I knew that we were going to be playing. There was a teacher that was playing with his students, and one of the way that, because I guess it was a class. I would love to take a D&D class now that I'm out of high school, but that'd be really great to have a class like that in high school. And he sat down with the group, and for the entire class period they would play. And the way he did a lot of his storytelling was he would describe what it was, because he would talk to them as a teacher, because none of them have ever played. And it's cool because they were like a whole bunch of different kids. Like, some of them played like video games, stuff like that. There was some like there was like a cheerleader there. Someone was like on the football team or the baseball team or something like that. It was just a bunch of kids that were into like that nerd culture, right? And none of them had ever played D&D before.
Right.
And he was able to explain stuff, but when it came to the storytelling part of it, he had himself there as the NPCs, and the NPCs were the ones telling the story to them. And I think that really got them comfortable with reacting to things that they had to start doing. Because inherently, at the beginning, they're all just like, haha, we're like high school students. Like, don't make fun of me. And then none of them really role-played, but him going in there and being like, well, this is my bar, and like, we've got like some chairs over here. And he just explained the environment as the bartender, as someone he would just be explaining that, like, this is my bar, and like, this is how, where I set everything up, and that sets up where, the environment is, which I always think is cool how you can incorporate that into everything. I think that's one of the cool parts about being a DM or a GM and doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
So I was gonna say, in most cases, I don't know how crazy people go out, like the battle maps, they always have like the 3D.
When I have the money at one point in my life.
Right, so I don't know how practical it is, like
10 years from now.
You'd have to have one solid setup for it, you can like easily like move that stuff around.
So they actually sell
but in most cases, I think he said to me before, or maybe it was you, I don't remember who said it.
It's so haunted here, sorry.
You normally only have those when you're going to be in that one area for a long time, or is that incorrect?
Well, in terms of like a battle map, like a full...
so like a full scale.
You mean like almost like a stage where it's
like
just
a stage,
yeah, where it's just like our characters are right, because that would inherently, like, she took a few hours just to draw like the really in-depth battle map.
Yeah.
And that's just drawing it. If she had to put together like a 3D section of it, at some point you have a lot of those set pieces and everything.
Right.
But still just like building that setup. We're also playing a module, so a lot of these areas are already like made up, I assume. Yeah. Right. It's just like, this is what it looks like, and they're like, here's the map, and you're just like, so she could go in and do that, but it is a lot of work unless you know that that's going to be something that's there.
Yeah, there are companies that specifically make pieces for battle maps. One of the top ones that I know of, at least, is Dwarven Forge. And they'll make all these different tiles, like street tiles, dungeon tiles. I'm not sure if they're magnetic or how they go together, but you can mix and match and rearrange, and you can get houses and buildings and streets, fixtures, fountains, cool. Like all this crazy stuff. And again, in 10 years from now, when I have the money, I will invest
I've seen a bunch that are magnetic, because the way it works is you have the house, and the house will break into two pieces because it's magnetic there, and the roof magnetizes on top, but the roof also splits open, so you could like put your characters inside. That's cool. I'd say some of the most popular pieces are just to set a scene for things, is like trees or cave walls, rocks, and stuff like that. Right, because like tables and stuff like that, you just like draw a little table there, or you can get like table like pieces. They don't have to be inherently like
I have dungeon
pieces.
Tiles, which I don't think you guys have. I don't think I've ever brought them out, because
probably not. I think when I went to your house like a year ago,
because we're playing a module, so I do have some freedom. I mean, I have as much freedom as I want to have.
Throw the book out.
Yeah, like I could do whatever I want on the DM.
You're all dead.
But in terms of the bigger dungeons and locations, because I want to stay true to the module, I'm making that choice that I want to stay as true as possible. I think it's easier for me. I think it's easier,
right,
for you guys in terms of.
It does it easier if you ever run this again, because it's like I did everything by the book, and now I know
I can play with it as much as I want. Yeah. But I have these flat. They're like cardboard kind of. I don't know what the proper word is, but tiles. And I have like dungeon ones. I have grassland ones, and I have like wetland tiles. And I can use those to design a whole map, a whole area. I've done it before. And so you don't need anything.
Yeah, right. Like super
crazy, and it's a personal preference, but those kinds of things I used to use a lot when I was playing back at school, because we were playing in my apartment, so I could set it up beforehand. Like, doing this map, it's really easy for me to take out a dry erase map, draw on it when I'm at home, and then bring it over here to play, versus
having to set everything up.
Having to set it up every single time. And that's what I did once. I had like a picture on my phone of like where I had all the tiles. It was the most obnoxious experience.
Yeah.
Because they're also double-sided. Otherwise, I'd probably put like Velcro on them or something. I'd do something to have like a temporary
No, you're good. Keep
fix.
No.
We lost our taskmaster, which means now we don't have to do any work.
No, you still have to do work.
So,
oh no, I thought it would.
All the work.
the only reason why I asked, really all that, was mainly because, like he said, having someone tell the scenery to you,
Mhm.
I think that can also really draw a person in once
yeah.
they get, like, the environment around them. And, instead of having to, like, picture it, you actually have a physical...
Absolutely.
I think we should just go to locations.
That's
just like,
just
come to
called
this address.
LARPing.
Come to this address.
You go to this address, it's like a cave, and we're like, what the fuck? And she's like, comes up, she's like, get in here! And she's like, oh, okay.
The day that I learn more about LARPing and figure out how that works, I'll let you know. I have no idea.
You say fireball, usually.
I also people play with, like, cards or, like, spell pouches that, like, have pouches that they'll fill with anything, and then they'll, like, color it certain colors.
Yeah.
So it'll be, like, an orange pouch for, like, fireball. And like
I think the thing to me about D&D about that also, that just brought the idea to me, is that when you play, like, D&D and or like LARP and stuff like that, it's really reliant on just the honor system of you saying, like this happened, or, like, I did this and things like that. And I think a lot of people can't grasp their head around why you would have that rule if there's no way to check the rule. If I was just like, oh, if I said I hit you with this spell and you, like, believe that I would, you would just say, oh yeah, that would hit me with that spell. But someone that hasn't played those games or doesn't know that would just be like, well, how would I check that? Like, how would I know? It's like with a paintball, if I shoot you with a paintball gun, it's just going to show that I shot you. And I think a lot of people can't wrap their mind around things like that. Because you can play a lot of games that just follow that system, that just, like, do that. And I think playing D&D and stuff like that really teaches you that those rules are, like, okay. And, like, it's there. And you can follow the system of rules that doesn't have a way to back up that.
It's not physically represented.
Right. It's not just like, how would I check that? Right.
All in the theater of the mind.
Right.
I think, I guess one of my least favorite, depending on the day, aspects of that idea, and talking about the party as, like, the game group as, like, a social group. Every time you enter into a game into a tabletop RPG, whether it's stated outright or not, and I think in the vast majority of cases it's not stated, but you're entering into an agreement with that group of people that you all want to have fun.
Right.
Sorry, continue.
No, I had to stop for this.
You're having
I'm just trying not to make a mess.
With your giant cookie.
Yeah. See,
Oh, you broke it.
the cookie crumbles.
That is
the way.
how the cookie crumbles. We're awful. Anyway, I think you like enter into an agreement. I think you just enter into a don't be an asshole agreement.
Or be an asshole, depending on your character.
Well, there's also a certain extent that you can push that before people stop having fun. And it's... oh no, you haven't gotten there, don't...
Yeah.
Ha.
My character at least helps you.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
Which I think is personally, I'm very glad that in our group, we have not had any problems, as I have had problems in groups before, where because you can say whatever you want and saying things breathes them into life, you can mess up this very fragile little game with a couple sentences.
That's why Chris killed my characters.
That is not why I killed your characters. One of them you wanted to die.
Yeah, and it took forever.
I wasn't gonna leave him, like, in the middle of a dungeon, one person down. Whatever, it's irrelevant. But I think going into a game like that, you all sort of have to come to the agreement of, like, in order to have fun, we have to play by these rules that aren't necessarily written down in a book. Like, you just have to be a nice person. Sometimes, like, you just have to accept, like, maybe I want to do this one thing, and maybe my character would do this one thing, but I know that would negatively impact the party. And so, I might not do that.
Yeah. But I also think that if...
I think as a party, you guys have never gotten
No, we haven't
to
gotten to
the-
that point
to that
whatsoever.
extreme.
But I completely understand what you're saying. But I also think it depends on the type of character and what you think that your character would still do. Right? Like if you're playing an evil, like a chaotic, like evil character. Not saying you would, because you'd just be an asshole at the beginning of the thing. But if that is your character, and the way that the campaign was set up, you're still like important to the team in that way, but you just decide to give up your party, or you have that choice to, as a character in your head, if you're weighing those options, I think you could still come up with a reason why you would do that and still do it. Your party's going to be mad because you probably gave them up and got them put in like in jail or like hired, like, you know, and something there, and your character would be an asshole, and you in person would still sort of be an asshole.
Yeah,
but I think
in person you would
about,
still be an asshole for sure.
But I also think that was the character you made. Like if your DM was just like, no, you can't be evil, then like I think that would stop it. Then you wouldn't do that because you're evil.
Yeah, I
right?
think that's. No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say so in cases like this, I think my character's like lawful neutral.
I don't know. You chose
or something.
that, pal.
And now my next character, whenever that may come to be, is chaotic neutral.
They look at me like whenever I decide to kill.
Chaotic neutral.
Well, that's just like you're just a jerk.
Right.
Actually, I don't.
So that's gonna be a big change for me.
Can you be chaotic neutral?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's gonna be a big change for me, going from like this current character that I have to.
I don't think your character knows what they are.
I feel like alignment is such a. I could talk for a really long time about alignment. I have a lot of feelings about a lot of things in D&D. That's one of them. So I won't open that can for myself. But I think is House on?
Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that so much. I'll figure it out.
I think in going back to like the evil character, playing the evil character, I'm in a very large group on Facebook, a very large like D&D Facebook group, and I see a lot of stories from a lot of different people because people play this game crazy different from like what I do.
Sure.
And I've seen that pretty often where people talk about how, you know, oh, their DM let them play an evil character, or oh, their DM let someone else play an evil character. Mm-hmm. And I think with any game of D&D, you know, making those kind of decisions, it's a group decision. It has to be a group decision to be able to allow that kind of character to exist, because if you are choosing to play an evil character the way that an evil character would be played, making those decisions, doing things that don't benefit the party but benefit yourself, you're going to come into situations that other people in the party aren't going to be happy with. Inherently, I believe that to be true. As long as the whole party is okay with that, anything goes. As long as the whole party is okay with anything, anything goes.
Sure.
And I think that isn't usually the issue. I think it's when people who aren't playing evil characters, who are, say, playing like a neutral character, or some. I mean, alignment at that point I don't even think matters. But if they're playing someone and they say like, you know, my character's really stupid. I'm definitely not pulling from personal experience here. My character is really stupid. So, when I get to this city and my party sends me a message saying that this keep is filled with vampires and to not go there, my character's really dumb, so I'm just gonna decide that I don't understand that message. And I'm pretty sure they're telling me to go to that mansion. And then they go to that mansion. Which can result in really bad consequences, not just for us as, like, party members, but for the story as a whole.
Sure.
And once you start making those decisions, that it's not really even to benefit you, but you're saying, my character would do this thing.
Right.
And trying to justify it that way. It's not... Your character is not being an asshole. You're being an asshole. Because you know what could happen. You know that if you make this decision and you provoke them, then as long as the DM continues along the path of logic, those vampires are going to come after us, the plans that we had are going to be ruined,
right.
We could all die just so that you could say, my character's really dumb though. So I think going into any kind of game like that, if you don't go in considering the larger picture, you run into those issues.
Yeah, your games are also really...
Side note, we kicked that guy out. I think it's really important to say that wasn't not a single issue.
Your games are really...
And we kicked that guy out.
Inherently, they're really long, drawn out, and you play a lot more serious than a lot of other things. So you guys are super invested into that
realism,
right? To that world, to that story that you're in. So when someone does that, they're not just doing that because their character's doing that, but it also ruined that entire thing. If someone like that did something in our game like that, we all died, we would all probably just laugh and probably be upset that happened. But I think that also depends on the dynamic of the group that you play.
Different strokes, for
right?
Sure.
You all play super seriously and super real and you care about a lot of things that people might not care a lot about in that.
That other people, right. It's not their priority
right.
in other games.
Right.
Yeah,
it's a priority where.
Games,
so I can definitely see why that. Following that character logic would be an asshole because you guys had probably pent up all that stuff for a long time too. You guys had played for probably months and months and got to that point, and he was just like, "I'm going to ruin that." But in our case,
he didn't ruin it, thankfully, because in that particular instance, if I remember correctly, our DM actually called a stop to it.
Yeah.
Because, good on him.
Right.
Always good on him. I think, it sucks when the DM has to, be a parent.
Yeah, sure.
Or, a mediator. But he was pretty much like, no one's that dumb. No one's that dumb. And
no one doesn't forget that the word not is in there.
Is this the same guy you say that would roll to miss under...
Oh, yeah. Roll to miss here? It was that guy.
Miss here.
Yeah. He would roll to miss here thing. Well, he would also roll to miss here a spell that specifically says you understand the message. There's no brokering for misunderstanding.
I think the roll and miss here thing is...
It's all him.
It is... I think that's stupid when it's just when it's something important. But I think that's a cool mechanic to just be like, my character has, ADD and they're not going to be paying attention. And then someone's going to say something, you'd be okay, let's go. But, in real life, you're not going to not listen.
Yeah, but I think that's also, once you start doing things like rolling, I think it's a way of taking the blame off of yourself. So, him rolling the die, sure. And then he can say, oh, but the die rolled this way. Well, but you chose to roll the die.
Right. Well, I think the choosing on what you're going to roll is the super. If you guys were like, all right, we're going to go in there, and the job is to, something important, we have to save the king, and you're like, I rolled a miss here that we have to save the king. It's like, no, that's stupid. You know that we're saving the king. It's important. Yeah. But if it's you're sitting at a bar and they're just like, oh, hey, we're all gonna go visit the gardens tomorrow and then go do this, and the guy's like, I rolled a miss here that, and then you roll a miss here, and you're like, I showed up at the bathhouse and you guys weren't there. That's you're not hurting the story, but you're adding to your character because your character would probably have done that. I think that just choosing where to do it makes you an asshole. But having that there, if your character's really stupid, is actually, I think, cool, because otherwise inherently you're just choosing to be an asshole. Because even if you're distracted by something in real life, you might actually hear that part of it, but you wouldn't really know, right? Unless you're like that in your game, which I'm like in our game, because I don't hear a lot of stuff in our game. So
yeah, well, we have, my current game we play on Discord, and I don't want to talk about that game too much, to talk about anyone when I eventually send this link. I will talk about my brother, though, because I have no qualms doing that. But he, a lot of us when we're playing, we just hole ourselves in a room and just kind of point blank, we really don't have a lot of distractions going on. It's just harder for him in terms of having other things going on while we're playing. So there have often been times where he'll get distracted by something else that either he has to get up from his desk to do or, has to check on something.
Sure.
And sort of he'll come back a few minutes later, and it's been this became a running joke after a very long time, of whether his character was like there where we were at the time. Like, oh, is he with us? Is he with us? Was he there when we had this conversation? But at this point, it's sort of become like a, you know, oh no, he was off around the corner, and like if he walks away for a second, we'll be like, oh yeah, and
he took a wee pee break.
Yeah, something like that, where you sort of filled in what's happened because of it, and then when he comes back and he'll, you know, have missed 5 minutes and like doesn't necessarily have that information.
Yeah.
It ends up working really well for the character that he has.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's playing like not the brightest. He's not stupid. Shoot, I shouldn't have said that. He is. As another running joke. Sorry, he's not that stupid. And he'll come back and just be like, "Wait, so what are we talking about?" And then we'll have to be like, "Oh my god, okay, this is what we're," and we'll just, you know, started to play it off as like, he wasn't there, so we didn't hear it. So we'll repeat it as if like, "Oh my god, weren't you listening? We just said this 2 seconds ago." But I think it's worked out as a character trait now at this point.
Yeah, sure.
It's been integrated so much.
Well, I think that's also the cool thing, because you said you're on a Facebook group with people that have different stories and things that you, because they play the game differently, you see that as strange. A lot of things that they do are strange. But to them,
I see a lot of it as strange.
Right. But I feel like that's the cool part about it, is that everyone gets to play in their own way. There are things that you see that you're just like, I can't imagine our group doing that.
No,
There's things that our group does that you can't imagine, like, your group doing, just because I was cracking my neck and trying to think.
Just
because I think, one, because we're newer and we want to play a different way. Like I don't think all of us would take it that seriously. Like, to me, I wanted to play as a way to have the story and have the role playing, but not
have that dominate.
Right, it's just to have a release as a character. More, I think I'm more into the character and the conversations part of it than anything else, as opposed to the overarching story, which is strange because it is a module and there is like this super overarching story that happens like right there.
To be fair, you're not in the thick of it yet.
Yeah, that's true. We're only not even halfway done. But also, I think at some point, I'm not saying I don't care about the story, because I do care about it, and I do like the concept of the module, and I do like everything about that. But the reason that I play D&D, and I'll probably continue to play D&D, is for the character building and for the way the characters are. And none of my characters are really going to be like this. All of my characters, I think, that I've made have really tragic backstories, and I'm just a really funny person in the game. Except this character who's funny because he's an asshole, which is my favorite part. I love being an asshole. Because in real life, I'm the furthest thing from that. Anyway, they're not laughing because I really am an asshole. That character's just yourself. You're just playing.
Yeah, you're just playing.
That's what he's really thinking.
Yeah, when I call all you guys idiots in the game, it's really just because I think
just
you're
because
fucking
you think
idiots.
they're being idiots. Yeah.
But I think that's cool. I think that's why when you hear about people doing evil things or doing things that are people being assholes, you could probably say that to 15 different groups of D&D parties, and half of them are going to say that guy's an asshole.
And half of them are going to be like, "Oh no,
half
we do that all the time."
Oh my god, that's fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
he rolled to like not save the king, like like and I think that's what's so inherently cool about it. Is there's not like this right way to play. There's this we want to play
this particular
way, which is so cool. You don't have anything that's like that. Even in video games where like you could be evil, it's like usually not an inherently like easy thing to do. Like in like Fallout, because we were talking about Fallout earlier. In Fallout, if you're an evil character, you miss out on like 30 quests and like 15 really important like cool items that you could have in armor and stuff like that. And you make the game way harder inherently for a lot of things. And I think because most people don't play that way, and I think like Bethesda knows that, and I think game developers know that because you miss out on a lot of stuff. I think Mass Effect did a really cool thing when it came to being evil, because you didn't miss out on a lot of stuff. They really thought about what would happen. I think it was still way easier to play a good character, but they didn't make it so hard to play
Right.
an evil character, because an evil character in Fallout is just like, I'm gonna kill everything. And
Yeah.
it's like, that kind of sucks.
Mhm.
Whereas, I like games like Bioware's really good at thinking about the evil
Right.
aspect of it. With like, you can be evil but not kill everything. It's like, I just
Mhm.
fucking hate everybody. I don't want to kill everybody.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
Yeah, but being able to play
Right.
in so many different ways.
Right, which is cool about D&D, because even if like you're an evil character and you inherently don't care about people, that doesn't necessarily you're a murderer and just want to kill people.
Yeah.
Which I think is something cool that you can do
Yeah.
in D&D if you wanted to do that. Like, you could just be an asshole and you want to rob banks and you want to like sell people into slavery, which is really evil and fucked up. But I don't want to kill people. No, I just want to sell them
Yeah.
into slavery and rob banks. Like, it's
We're just on this
Right.
low, mid tier, right?
like
Mid-tier
evil Batman, which is like I still don't kill people, but it's weird to me.
We walk-
I don't kill people. I just injure them enough to where they're in critical
Probably
condition.
gonna die.
Yeah, exactly.
I throw
just
them off
put them in the
buildings,
hospital for
and if
4
gravity
months
kills
and,
them, gravity kills them. I didn't kill them. They fell off the building by me.
Bam, cookie.
I
Yeah.
pushed them to the edge of the building. They fell off the building. That's
They fell themselves. Yeah, I think
Um,
that's actually I think it was just yesterday. I was texting one of my friends who I play with, and he was telling me about a party that he's going to be playing with soon, and he was like listing off like their names, and he was like they were very like lighthearted names.
Mhm.
And he was listing off. He's like, I feel like this is gonna be a very different game than what I'm used to, basically. And I was like, yeah, but it'll be fun. I think, like, just because someone has goofy names doesn't necessarily mean the game, isn't still going to be just as fun.
my
Just
name
very,
is Great A.
just very different, yeah. And I was telling him, I was like, yeah, well, when we started, I had this guy, and his name was Ray. What was it?
It was Ram.
And
my
middle
asshole.
name. I thought it was your middle name was Ing.
Yeah, it was. So my name, the way that I introduced myself, it was Ram, my asshole, but my middle name was Ing, so it would be Ramming my asshole.
Yeah. And then your second, after he died, your second character was
Woodrow, but don't have a paddle.
Woodrow, but don't have a paddle. So I was telling him this, and he was like, because he knows how I play. He knows how I play. He knows how I am as a DM. He's like, I'm really surprised that you allowed that.
It probably wouldn't have been so well if I didn't know you for so long. Like, it probably would not have been as, because you know who I am. Like, you know that it wouldn't be like I wouldn't play like this serious.
Well,
like,
I also, at least how I looked at it, like when I started DMing for you guys, like the last time that I DM'd a long game, I wanted to play.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to play more D&D. And I knew that probably the only way that was going to happen was if I DM'd. And I was okay
Sure.
with that because I still got to play.
Yeah.
And
right.
I built my group. Like, I went out and I was like, hey, you said you're interested. You want to play? I'm running this game. Hey,
Right.
you said you're interested. You want to play this game. And, like, I collected everyone.
Mhm.
So it sort of started off on, like, this was a game that I had started because I really wanted to play. And everyone came in sort of on that, like, we were all playing for sort of our own reasons, and we compromised within
Sure.
there. But when I started DMing for you guys, like, you were all brand new.
Yep.
I really didn't know you were Leo. And I think especially with, like, a new party, at least the way that I always looked at it was, like, I'm running this game for you.
Sure.
So I'm still going to DM within my style.
Right.
But, like, it's your game, and I'm not going to say,
Yeah, like, no.
oh, you can't have this character named this way, because me, as a player, I would never do that.
Yeah, I think
I was never
well,
gonna
I think you did that in a really like you.
limit that.
So like when I started getting into, because I played video games and stuff like that a lot, but when I really started getting into computers and I like built my computer, started playing computer games, stuff like that. The cousin that taught me how to do all that stuff, he has a very similar mindset to you, even if you don't know that you're doing it, because it's just part of your nature, because you're a good-hearted person.
I'm a good-hearted person.
It's,
I got a
yeah,
compliment.
yeah.
It's
It's the only one I'll ever get on here.
he that's not true.
On here specifically?
Uh,
Because he complimented you a lot last session.
Oh, I got the DM inspiration.
Inspiration.
Yeah, last session, he started like throwing Starburst at me. He's like, DM inspiration because you're doing such a great job.
I threw something. I thought I threw something else at you. Maybe it was just a Starburst though.
Maybe an airhead or something.
Yeah, something. And
the Reese's.
The Reese's. I was throwing right. The mini Reese's. The thing that that guy shares that he's very just inviting to it, and he knows exactly how to show you something to where you're not going to be like turned off to it. Like if we started like because I had never played computer games ever, and the only reason I wanted to build a computer was because I played on his, and I played like Counter-Strike Source, and I played Team Fortress 2. And I'm really terrible with mouse keyboard, so I did not enjoy playing those games at all when I first started. But he was just super inviting with it, like show me everything that like went into it, and show me how to aim and everything. And then he showed me like Portal on it. He just showed me like how it looked and everything like that, and just showed some of the cool like mods you could do with games like that. And he didn't just be like, oh, there's my computer, you can go play on it. It was just he wanted to be very inviting with it. So even when I started playing just other games like Supreme Commander, it's an RTS game, and I'm so terrible at RTS games because I have no management structure at all. He was just he'd be like, oh, I'll play on your team so that way we can like, or he'll play against me, and like while he's playing against me, he's like, make sure you make sure you're doing this because this is important for this reason, and it's a learning moment that really turns you on to it. Because if you said no, you can't do that, and you were very restrictive about what we did, and we got into the game, and it was like, you can't make that joke because this is serious and stuff like that, I don't think I'd ever want to play D&D again, or I would never want to play D&D with you again. So I think you're a really good person to have that first start with, because you don't play that way. Like, your entire game isn't about making jokes and about like laughter and everything.
We can get pretty stupid.
No, I'm not saying enough.
Our last game, I think we played for a total of an hour, but we were sitting there for 4.
I'm definitely not saying that you guys don't have fun or don't laugh and make jokes and stuff like that.
Really dark,
right?
By choice,
right? Exactly, right. So letting us have that freedom to do everything, I think, was really inviting. I think it's what kept all of us coming back and learning what everyone's favorite part was, and trying to include that and do that stuff is something that makes you a really good first DM. And it makes you a really good DM in general because you can learn your audience. You're really terrible though. You're not really good.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Well, I was thinking actually of running.
Which is big. It's a huge thing to have as a person, because it's probably not something you inherently do. It's something you probably think about, but it's probably not something you inherently do right there. Like, just hearing the name Ram My Asshole and being like, haha, that's funny, you probably in your head didn't be like, I have to let him do this because I want him to keep playing for the rest of his life. It was probably just something like, oh, that's funny. It's like, yeah, that's fine. It's
just don't
like,
harm in it.
Right.
Yeah, it
it's
doesn't
just
hurt
like, right.
Yeah.
It harms my asshole.
It harms you. It does.
I hope my dad
there was actually, before I had started playing with you, there's a game store a town over.
Yeah.
And they have D&D games that you can join. And I played once there, and I was not a fan of it personally. Not at all my style. Is that our favorite
game store?
Huh? Yeah. Yeah.
That's the one I went to?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they have games that run, I think it's like Wednesdays and Sundays or something like that.
Yeah.
Played once, wasn't a fan, so I didn't go back. But I had always thought, like, if it was something I wanted to do, if I really wanted to play more D&D, that I might run a module over there.
Sure.
Like, go over and volunteer and say, hey, I've been doing it for a while. Like,
yeah, can I? Sure.
Do you want me to start up a game?
Right.
And when I was thinking about that, I was really thinking of playing or running Curse of Strahd, the module, because I've never read it, but I've only ever heard good things. I've heard it's a great module. I think it's really within my style and my preference. I would have to get used to horror because I don't do a lot of horror, but I feel like I could figure it out eventually.
Now you do Vampire the Masquerade.
I love it. Yeah, but I'm not running that game, so I just get to sit there and be terrified all the time.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's like a very like inherently different thing, reacting to horror and then actually trying to come up with my horror would just be like, you've gained 10 pounds.
I'm not great with sending horror scenes. But I would figure it out because I've heard really good things about the module. I was really interested in reading it, playing it, whatever. And then when we had started talking, we were like, oh, we're going to start up a game.
Yep.
And I was telling my friends, like, oh, you're going to play Curse of Strahd? And I was like, I don't think that they would enjoy this game very much. I didn't think that you, and I still stand by that. I definitely don't think that it's a module for you guys as a group.
I'd probably ruin the module. I'd mess it up somehow.
I doubt it.
Or die. I'd either die or mess up the module.
But I just think it's more serious. It's serious. It's dark. It's more, from what I've gathered, like more intrigue based. And whereas Tomb of Annihilation is combat heavy, I'd say social encounter light, and a lot of the social encounters you guys have had I've actually just made up, like they weren't from the book. Yeah. I added those in because I wanted them.
Yeah.
And you have experienced it, like what we're doing right now, to some degree, that, and you'll see more, don't worry, has great dungeons in this game. Which I think is such like a core fundamental aspect of D&D that like everyone should play in a game at some point with really good dungeons. And that, more than anything, I think is what this game has. I feel like it's a good base line to enter in terms of maybe not difficulty level necessarily.
I think I think it's actually, because it is a little difficult, especially if you don't know all the things that you can do.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be difficult.
Right,
but
like
I do
the
think
forgetting to look for traps, or
the
forgetting to ask certain
I'm still learning as I go.
Every new player.
It's all the things
ever.
that, in your head, when you're experienced, you go through a checklist, whereas when you're new, you inherently just go for the end thing. You're skipping over all the things that you could do in between. But
kind of like when you play Star Wars.
No, I don't play Star Wars that way. You shut your mouth. But when I forgot what I was gonna say. You've literally I can't even remember.
You're saying skipping to the end game and like
yeah, players will kind of skip through and just go straight to the end. But I think this module is really good because, one, I think players don't know what happens when you die. I think the core thing that we've missed so far is just the act of magic that revives players, which is something that I think you just can get.
Well, you guys wouldn't have it anyway because none of you are playing a class that has access to that magic.
Sure.
So,
but
for a part of it, I thought it was interesting going in that you guys were playing a class. I mean, I guess it makes sense that you wouldn't have had access to that kind of magic anyway. So like,
sure,
going in, even if the in background in Tomb of Annihilation, the 5e module, as systems in place from the get-go, I think they just call it the death curse, wherein no resurrection magic is working, so when someone's dead, they're dead.
The beta curse.
It's happened to you twice. They're dead for good, and anyone who has been resurrected before is slowly withering away and dying. So for the vast majority, if not the entirety of the game, I'm pretty sure it's the whole thing, you can't come back to life. So when you die, you die. So you guys, I mean, when you're dying, you're dying. Like, you still wouldn't even have had access to.
But even if a character in the party doesn't have that, there are still, like, you don't have to be revived by a member of your party. There are other, like, NPCs in the game or items and things like that.
Items, not so much. Other NPCs, possibly.
Sure.
But, so there's I think 5, I guess technically, resurrection spells.
Mm-hmm.
In D&D 5th edition, there's Revivify, which will bring you back if you've died within a minute. There's Raise Dead, which will bring you back if you've died within 10 days. There's Resurrection, which I don't remember what the time limit on that is, if there is one, but I know Resurrection you need to have at minimum like a body part of a person, where with Revivify and Raise Dead, their whole body has to be intact. Resurrection, you just need a part of them, I think. And it has to be within some timeline. And then True Resurrection, it's like, anytime they died, you don't even need their body, their soul just has to be available.
Sure.
The better the spell gets, the higher level you need to be. There's also regeneration, or not regeneration, reincarnate, which will bring your soul back in a different body.
Nice.
But you gotta be pretty powerful to get something like Resurrection, which for a game of like Tomb of Annihilation, where you could be 20 days out from the nearest major city.
Yeah, right. It would not work there. Right. It would not work in this.
No, but in other games, yeah, there would be other characters theoretically who have that ability. I mean, in my other game, my character's mother was killed at one point. She's like poisoned.
Sure.
At the time, no one in the party had magic that could bring her back after she'd been dead for a couple of days. But we knew someone. We knew an NPC who we were able to call upon to come in and perform this spell, this ritual, to bring her back. So theoretically, that might be available.
Right.
But situational. It's also like whether the DM chooses to...
Well, that's also what I'm saying, is that you have no choice. Like, if someone's dead... Like, the first character that you killed was by accident.
Well, you know.
Well, it was... No,
it was the circumstance of the game. Like, it was a hard encounter. You guys got caught unawares.
Right. I would still say, without being, like, unfair, you really couldn't have done a lot to it. Unless you were just like, oh, because you rolled to see who you saved. Like, it wasn't just like...
And arbitrarily pick.
Right. It wasn't just like, oh, let me go save this, and that. Like, it wasn't like that. It was just like, the character would roll, and I think that's fair. That's the game. It's like, as a DM, you could choose, but I think that is a fair way to do it. But other than that, like, when I died, my second character died kind of by accident, and that was also my fault for rolling terribly when it comes to death saves. But it's just not much you can do about it. But I think that is important to know, like, the next steps for the game, like, and just being prepared for it. Because I think a lot of characters are just like, in a normal homebrew game or like a module that allows it, are just like, the DM will probably save me because we're fucking 3 months into this. Like, it's probably they're just gonna come and save me. It'd be like really shitty if they don't do that, and I'd never play with them again or something. Like, you know, I feel like a lot of DMs will do some of that stuff out of like, I'm gonna be an asshole if I don't just like do something about that. Or like, especially with you guys, like, I can imagine like if one of you guys dies, like, Tad would try and do a lot just to try and figure something else that would make sense. I don't think Tad would go out of his way to just be like, and a wizard appears and goes, shit, and he just, zaps away. I don't think that would ever happen, but I think he would try and figure out a way to, because you guys are at this point a year invested, and you're super invested into your character, things like that. But I think for us, it's good to know that if you do die, there's options, especially for this, because I've been new charactered twice, which is cool because it also made all of us prepare. Like, we all had a dragon fight coming up, so we all made new characters for if we inherently died. But I think that's also cool to know that that's how that works, and it's cool to see how you worked it into, getting the character into the game, even just with guest people. It's cool. I think we've got a vast array of situations that we've learned from this module, and just from the way that we've played. That, like, if you moved away tomorrow and we were going to play this exact game, that we'd be able to run a semi-decent game, probably having to look at the player's handbook a lot more in the DM guide, but a wide array of things, especially with new players, that we'd be able to work through. So I think it was a really smart module to pick for the first one.
Also, because a lot of the other modules are they have them in series. So I don't remember what it's called. There's a dragon one. Something Dragon Queen. I don't remember. But that one, there's like a bunch of books, and you can play it. I think you can play it like levels 1 through 20 or something crazy like that. Each module is designed for a specific like level range, and I think Storm King's Thunder. There's like a giant-based one. I think that might be part of a series. I don't remember. But I wanted one specifically that starts at level 1 and like only goes to a certain point.
Sure.
So I think this one is designed for 1 through 10 levels. But something that's like a little more condensed and easier to consume.
Yeah, right. Makes sense. Well, that's all the time we have. Do you have any last words?
No, I'm good.
I mean, I'm gonna murder you. That's really why I asked
the
questions.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I didn't say much, but I did learn quite a bit, like more of the involvings of how, from like your perspective of being a DM, and yeah,
cool.
I think it'd be cool to pass on to other people, especially if they're watching and listening.
Cool for me to pass on the DM mantle to other people. Oh, you want a DM? No, perfect.
I can't even
Great.
fucking explain it
I'm
over
so
there.
glad. I'm so glad you want to test it out. You should definitely do that. I encourage everyone to DM at one point in their lives.
I DM'd the very first game of D&D we ever played.
You did.
You weren't here.
I wasn't.
Yeah, we hadn't decided that we were gonna play yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I did it. Everyone had fun though. That's all that mattered.
That's always all that matters.
That's all that matters.
Have fun. Play D&D. Have fun.
Sweet. All right. Any last words?
All
right. Well.
Be nice. Play D&D.
Check out our stream 2 weeks from now.
Check out what do we got. We have Twitch.
So yeah,
we have Facebook.
Yep.
We have Facebook.
That's 2 of the same thing, I think.
Do we have Twitter?
Yes.
We have Twitter. Do we have Instagram?
Yep.
We have Instagram.
Yeah.
We have Instagram.
Yeah. So I'll recap because there's a lot of things. We have a Twitch, a Twitter, a YouTube channel, which is where this will go, and a Facebook, which is also I'll decide later. And then this will also be on any place where you can listen to podcasts besides Spotify.
Woo.
I think so. Those are all the places everything will be.
Apple Podcast.
Apple Podcast.
Pear Podcast.
Podcast. God dang it. We just put up a video of me. I just put a video. It's the first sketch that we posted on Nerds Live. It'll be on the YouTube channel and Facebook. We're gonna post. We did a Baldur's Gate. What is it? Baldur's Gate?
Betrayal at Baldur's Gate.
Betrayal.
Whatever
she said.
Betrayal at Baldur's Gate playthrough.
We recorded
actual play, live
something.
play.
We played that for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. So we're gonna post that. We stream D&D on Friday nights. If there is no D&D and we're still together, we'll figure something out about what we'll put in its place. And then this podcast, even though Kraus will not be on it every week, will come out the day that this one comes out every week. That's a lot of things. But, yeah. We're doing things. So.
Why just achieve when you can overachieve?
Yeah. We'll see. Alright, guys. Thanks for watching.
Good day, sir. Hey. Eyes up here. 2018. I don't have to wear a bra. I can't see anything without my glasses. You